The recent announcement of a government-backed crackdown on what's been termed hyper-masculine social media has raised serious questions about the future of free expression in Britain. Hi, I'm Miriam Cates and this is GBN Originals. Now let's start by examining the facts. Ofcom, our digital watchdog, has proposed new measures aimed at tackling what they call the online abuse of women and girls. On the surface, this might sound commendable. Violence against women and girls is on the increase, and there's a disturbing rise of child-on-child sexual abuse perpetrated by boys as young as 13 or 14. So of course we want to protect vulnerable individuals from genuine harm. But as we dig deeper, we find a troubling reality that threatens both the foundation of democracy and fails to tackle the very real issue of the abuse of women and girls. Ofcom is urging social media platforms to go above and beyond their legal duties under the Online Safety Act when it comes to tackling so-called sexist speech. This vague and subjective term should set alarm bells ringing for anyone who values freedom of expression. Who decides what constitutes sexist speech? More importantly, who gets to draw the line between legitimate opinion and punishable offence? The regulator has coined the term misogyny influencers to describe individuals they claim are being rewarded by tech giants' algorithms with greater reach, particularly to young men and boys. These influencers, we're told, attract their audience by showcasing their status and wealth or by offering advice on mental health and relationships. But according to Ofcom, they're simultaneously using their platform to glorify, justify and create tolerance for sexual violence. Now, let's pause for a moment and consider the implications of this statement. Are we to believe that every man who displays success or offers guidance on personal issues is secretly promoting violence against women? This sweeping generalisation not only insults the intelligence of young men, but also undermines the credibility of those genuinely working to address mental health concerns and relationship difficulties.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Ofcom goes on to state that misogynistic speech is often not illegal, but at scale it can normalise harmful beliefs in men and boys and impact women and girls' experience both online and offline. This admission is perhaps the most chilling aspect of the entire proposal. They're openly advocating for the suppression of speech that isn't illegal based on a hypothetical impact that they can neither quantify nor prove. Is this really about protecting women and girls from genuine threats or illegal content? Or is it about controlling the narrative, shaping thought, and limiting the range of acceptable opinions in our society? It's a dangerous path that leads us away from the principles of free speech that have long been a cornerstone of British democracy. Consider the potential consequences of this crackdown. How many voices will be silenced out of fear of being labelled a misogyny influencer? How many important discussions about gender relationships, societal roles and personal responsibility will be shut down before they can even begin? And perhaps most crucially, How will this affect the development of young minds who are denied exposure to a full spectrum of ideas and opinions? The report also fails to question why influencers such as Andrew Tate have become so popular amongst young men. Could it be that a narrative that undermines young men and labels masculinity as toxic is failing to give boys a positive vision to aspire to? Could it be that constant promotion of equality for everyone except young men has left boys vulnerable to the kind of grievance narratives peddled by these online influencers? And if we really want to tackle the objectification and sexual abuse of women and girls, we need look no further than online pornography, which is almost always violent and portrays women as objects to be abused. The average age of viewing online porn is just 13 years old. It's not Andrew Tate that's the problem. It's the fact that boys are getting their sex education from extreme and violent material. It's illegal for children under 18 to watch pornography. Why don't Ofcom focus on forcing adult sites to use age verification rather than going after legal social media posts? There's a strong argument that social media isn't suitable for children, in the same way that we don't allow them access to alcohol or to have tattoos or to learn to drive. But when it comes to adults, Ofcom's approach begs a fundamental question. Do we trust our fellow citizens to navigate the marketplace of ideas? Or do we believe they need a paternalistic state to curate their online experience, shielding them from thoughts and opinions deemed unacceptable by an unelected regulatory body? The answer to this question will shape the future of our democracy. If we choose the path of censorship, even with the best of intentions, we risk creating a society where conformity is prized over creativity, where challenging the status quo becomes a punishable offence, and where the vibrancy of public discourse is replaced by a sterile, government-approved narrative. Let's not forget that throughout history, some of the most important social advancements have come from ideas that were initially considered controversial or even offensive. Misogyny is a dreadful thing, but it's not difficult to imagine a scenario where legitimate debate is labelled misogynistic by Ofcom and shut down. By stifling debate and limiting the range of acceptable speech, it undermines some of our most basic freedoms. Moreover, this crackdown sets a dangerous precedent. Today it's hypermasculine content that's in the crosshairs. But what will it be tomorrow? Political dissent? Religious expression? Artistic creativity that doesn't align with the prevailing ideology? Once we accept the principle that the government, through its regulatory bodies, has the right to define and suppress legal speech based on subjective criteria, we open the door to ever-expanding censorship. It's also worth noting the potential for unintended consequences. By driving certain viewpoints underground, we risk creating echo chambers where extreme ideas can fester and grow unchallenged. Sunlight, as they say, is the best disinfectant. By allowing all ideas to be expressed and debated in the open, we give society the opportunity to collectively reject harmful ideologies through reason and discourse, rather than through top-down suppression. We must also consider the impact on innovation and entrepreneurship in the tech sector. How will British startups compete in a global market if they're burdened with vague and potentially onerous content moderation requirements that go above and beyond the law? Are we not risking our position as a leader in the digital economy by creating an environment that's hostile to free expression and open exchange of ideas? So in conclusion, while the stated aim of protecting women and girls from online abuse is noble, the proposed methods are deeply flawed and potentially disastrous for our society. Instead of the undemocratic moderating of speech through vague and poorly defined criteria, we should recognise that social media is not a safe place for children, but that adults should be free to express themselves online. We must resist the temptation to sacrifice our fundamental freedoms on the altar of perceived safety. Instead, we should follow the Australians in raising the age of digital consent to 16, but leaving adults alone to navigate the complex world of online discourse. True progress comes not from silencing voices we disagree with, but from fostering an environment where all ideas can be expressed, debated, and evaluated on their merits. Many adults do behave badly online, and we each need to take personal responsibility for what we post. Are we being constructive or destructive? Are we showing respect or contempt? But it should be for individual adult citizens to be ruled by our own consciences, not by Ofcom. We must protect children, but when it comes to adults, we must resist the creeping hand of censorship and uphold the principles that have made Britain a beacon of liberty for centuries. This is Miriam Cates. Don't forget to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel for more.